All right, good evening. Good evening. Welcome to this late night discussion. This is also the kickoff of my podcast that really does not have a name yet. Okay. By the time that this podcast goes onto the network, onto the various podcast platforms, it will have a name assigned to it. Tonight we are just recording for the podcast, but we're also going live tonight on Facebook, and it's a late night discussion because it is currently 12:16 a.m. And hello to those of you that are viewing. We are currently live on Facebook, and I am. Huh. Okay. I am preparing to go live on YouTube, and I just shucks. Okay, I was going live on YouTube, and it's not going to allow me to because it's my first time going live on YouTube, and it says I have to wait 24 hours. I be darned. Okay, so we will not be live on YouTube. I can go ahead and close this down. Looks like we will only be live on Facebook. And so what I'm going to do is close my MacBook up because so goes that idea. All right. So awesome. So we are preparing to go live here in a couple of, I'm trying to share this to a couple of places. Now, I want to tell you tonight, this is going to be a discussion that will be highly controversial. And I started with the Facebook, actually started not to go live on my personal page, but only go live in my private group, which is Unlocking the God in You. If you have not subscribed to that group, make sure that you subscribe to it, because there will be some things that will only go live in that group because some of this stuff is too hot, too controversial, and too much for public viewing. As with the discussion we're going to discuss tonight, I'm telling you guys, it's going to be a deep one. It's really going to be a deep one. So let's try to do it. All right. So I know it's almost 1 a.m. in the morning. So a lot of you are not going to be watching live. You're going to be watching the replay, or you might get to watch the replay because due to the controversial nature of this subject, I may not leave this video up on Facebook. Actually, my intention was to just get everybody on Facebook, prepare you for it, and then have everybody switch over to YouTube. But unfortunately, we're having problems with YouTube. So if you are watching this live, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on your location. If you're watching or listening to a replay, whether by podcast or on YouTube or Facebook, I want to say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, depending on when you're watching and where you're watching. Are you ready for this discussion? I promise you it's going to be good. It's going to be controversial. It's going to challenge you to think and to think outside of the box and to take a look at what's really there. Also, it's going to give you an opportunity to expand your consciousness and get out of your box, your conformity, that religion, church, not just religion and church, but even yourself, your cultural upbringing, just simply what you were told and how you've been conditioned, helping you to expand your consciousness beyond that and to dig deeper, to look deeper, because there's more there and it's right in front of you if you just look. One important thing for tonight will be the origin of things, the origin of words, the origin of and the etymology of words. It's really going to help you tonight as you explore this. So yes, I see a couple of comments. Hello, good afternoon, or excuse me, good morning, I should say. Gregory Heflin, Raynell Bateman, and anybody else. I don't know who the others are on here that are watching, but I'm going to say good morning to you. All right, so let's jump right in this and not take too long. I would have been on here earlier, but I had the worst migraine. So I have been literally sitting in the dark for a few hours because I had a terrible migraine. I took some Excedrin migraine, and that Excedrin migraine is the only thing that works for me. And it just kind of causes to ease up. So now I'm able to talk to you tonight. So what we're going to talk about tonight, are you ready? Are you ready for the controversy? Are you ready to think? So what we're going to talk about tonight is how, I'll tell you what I want to do. Let me pull this up here. Let me open up my MacBook again, and I'm going to pull up my notes on my MacBook. Hey, Lisa Graves, thank you for watching. This is going to be good. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? So what I need, guys, I need you to do a couple things so that we can cause this to show up on more people's feeds so they'll actually see this, people that are awake. I need you to like, to share, to interact. Hey, man. How are you, sir? Thank you for watching so late at night, early in the morning. I need you to, I need to enlarge this writing so I can see it. But I need you to like, to interact, to hit those buttons tonight so that this will show up on more people's feeds. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you hit the like button. Don't just watch. Please hit the like button. That triggers the algorithm so that this can show up on more, so more people will see this on YouTube. All right. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. So here we go, guys. I have talked long enough. We're going to roll with this, and I'll let you guys know when the podcast goes up, and you can also subscribe to that because some things will take place there that won't take place anywhere else. So we're going to talk tonight about how David really became king. Oh boy. How David really became king. And we're going to look at a question tonight. And that question is, was Saul actually righteous? That's right. Evil King Saul, according to the narrative describes him, the prophet Samuel. Oh boy, who we're going to talk about tonight too. That prophet Samuel describes Saul. Notice who's subscribed. This book is called these two books, 1st and 2nd Samuel. So remember we're supposedly looking at Samuel's own perspective. One thing that you guys have to realize, that when you read these writings, if these writings be authentic, which we don't have proof of that, I'm not saying if they be historical. Now, because I pretty much have no doubt in my mind that they are not historical in a literal sense. Okay. Now, they very well may be historical, meaning that someone in history wrote them. Okay. So if this be an authentic writing, then we are to understand that these are men that are writing from their perspective, from how they viewed things, how they saw things, how they understood things, how they interpreted what they saw, heard, felt, experienced, etc. So you got to understand, as we go into this, the first thing you guys have to understand is that what these writings really are, what you call the Bible. Okay? You know what they really are? If they be authentic writings, all right? Meaning that someone is writing their experience. If they be authentic writings, what these stories are is man's attempt to explain the unexplainable. I like to say it that way. It's man's attempt to explain what he saw, what he experienced, what he felt. Okay? All right, sometimes how he felt, because some of these writings are very opinionated. But tonight we're looking at the perspective of Samuel. So remember, this is Samuel talking here. So understand that when the writing says that Saul, the king, who was once considered a righteous man, okay, who was once considered a man that did the will of God, that's how he became king. All right. It says that the Spirit of the Lord, the Ruach, the wind, it blew on him. Okay. The Spirit of the Lord, okay, came upon him. That can be interpreted many ways, because when we see in the New Testament, the Spirit coming upon someone, it was considered overshadowing that person, almost like an attack, you know. I've seen some ancient writings and ancient artist depictions showing how the Spirit came upon Mary. They actually show like a light coming down. That sounds like something that I won't even talk about today. I won't even go into that rabbit hole. Won't go down there. I will, but not today. But so we know at one point that Saul was considered a righteous man because the Spirit of the Lord was upon him. But all of a sudden, Saul is in these writings by Samuel. Don't forget, these are not God's writings. Okay, God meaning when I say God at this time, because I'm going to talk about the word God in many ways. But right now, when I talk about God, I'm talking about the source of all existence, the source of all that is, the source of the cosmos, the source of the universe. Okay, that which is all of all and through all. It's not the writings of the source. Remember that. Okay. It is the writings of Samuel, a man, his perspective. That's very important. So we have Samuel saying that Saul was once a righteous man whom the Spirit of the Lord was upon, Yahweh, or sometimes called Elohim. We'll talk about that in a moment. But then later on, we see Samuel switching and changing his perspective. And Samuel now says, remember, these are men's writings, and it is their attempt to explain the unexplainable, or their attempt to explain how they viewed what they experienced, saw, felt, and heard. So we have Samuel now saying, in his perspective, he feels the Spirit of the Lord has departed from Saul, and now Saul according to Samuel, not God, not the source, but according to the writer, Samuel now changes his depiction and description of Saul. And Samuel now says Saul is a wicked man. Oh boy, we're going to get to that. All right. So we're going to answer the question because Samuel is also the one of whom in his own writings, of whom Samuel says that he is the one that made David the king. Okay? So we're going to talk about how did David really become king, and I hope y'all are with me. It's going to be good, I promise you. And was Samuel really wicked, or was Samuel righteous? Was Saul really wicked? Correction. Or was Saul actually righteous? Okay. How did he really become king? Let's talk about that. And was Saul actually righteous? And was it that Samuel maybe had a reason to dislike Saul and change his mind about Saul? Oh boy, this is going to be good. Let's go to the Bible, the Bible. That is not the book for me. No ma'am, no sir, no turkey, no ham. Okay? No ma'am, no turkey, no ham. All right. But let's take a looky here. So we're going to go to 1 Samuel 15. All right. Are y'all ready for this? Hey, Nikita. Goodness gracious. I know it took me a long time to get here, but let's roll. So, 1 Samuel 15. How did David really become king? Boy, y'all not ready for this journey. So 1 Samuel 15:1 says, Samuel said to Saul, I am the one. Wait. Okay, let's see. Do I want to go there? Yeah. Samuel says to Saul. Yeah, this is very interesting how this thing starts out. Samuel starts out by flexing a little bit. Okay, some of you know the backstory. If you don't know the backstory, go back and read the whole book of 1 Samuel. But I think even if you don't know this story, or if you're a little familiar with it, it'll come together as we go through this. I'm going to try not to take too long here tonight. No more than about an hour or less. 45 minutes, okay? 45 more minutes. So it says, Samuel said to Saul. So remember what I just said. Samuel starts off by flexing a little bit. Okay? Flexing. Okay? Y'all know what flexing means. It means showing off, throwing your weight around. You know, saying, hey, look here. Basically, Samuel says to Saul, look, dude, before I tell you what I'm getting ready to tell you, I need you to realize that you were once a nothing, and I'm the one that made you something. Okay? So he says, Samuel said to Saul, I am the one the Lord sent to anoint you king over his people Israel. So listen now to the message from the Lord. Are y'all hearing this? I hope you're getting this. So Samuel starts off by flexing and says, now look here, Saul, don't forget, I made you. Yeah, you wouldn't be anything without me. So in other words, Samuel is saying, you better listen to me. Okay. Because I'm the one that made you. He says, I am the one the Lord sent to anoint you king over his people. So listen now to the message from the Lord. Now, a very interesting thing is that the Lord didn't talk to Saul. The Lord talked to Samuel. So Samuel just gets to come back, kind of like Moses. Moses would go up to the mountaintop and nobody else got to hear this mysterious voice of God but Moses. And the people just had to believe what Moses said. Moses would come down and say, this is what the Lord said. Same thing with Samuel. Why could not God or this Lord just talk to Saul directly? Why did he need a mediator? We won't go down that rabbit hole. We'll do it another day. But anyway, so Samuel flexes a little bit, he kind of drops his balls low, and says, hey, look here, this is who I am. All right. And he says, so you need to listen to me. So verse 2, he says, this is what the Lord Almighty says. And understand again, Saul has nothing to go on except that Samuel said, this is what the Lord said. So listen at this. He says, this is what the Lord Almighty says. I will punish the Amalekites for what they did to Israel when they waylaid them as they came up out of Egypt. Now, go attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkey. Let's stop right there for a moment. So whether this be Samuel making this stuff up because this is what Samuel wants, and just like preachers do today, and they just use the name of God to get what they want. Now y'all know I'm telling the truth. Hello. And in a lot of cases, God has said nothing to them. Hello. But all they got to do is say, thus saith the Lord, or to say, I'm God's spokesman. Just like Samuel said in the beginning here to Saul, he says, listen, I am the one whom the Lord sent to anoint you king over Israel. So now listen to what I'm saying, because whatever I say comes from God. Don't some pastors say that? Don't they say to you, some of you guys say, hey, I'm your bishop. God sent me. I'm God's mouthpiece. So when I speak, God is speaking. So you need to do what I say. Okay? But whether this be Samuel, just coming from Samuel, or if it be from this Lord or this God, which we'll talk about later, this God that seems to be very temperamental, okay, called Yahweh, okay, all right. But listen at what it says, whether it's the God or just Samuel speaking in the place of God, okay. He says, I don't like the Amalekites. I don't like the Amalekites, basically. I don't like them. So because I don't like the Amalekites, now watch this, because I don't like the Amalekites. Me, I'm the one that don't like the Amalekites. He says, because I don't like the Amalekites, I want you, not me, but I want you to go, verse 3, and attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all of them. All right. But look at what he said. And he says, do not spare any of them, but put them all to death, both men and women, both children and infants. That means the little babies. So he says, I want you to kill the innocent. Every man, every woman, even kill the innocent children and the innocent little babies. He says, kill them all. And you know what? Don't just kill the little innocent babies, but I want you to kill all their animals. Kill the sheep, kill the cattle, kill the donkeys, kill the camels. Don't leave anything. Kill everything and everybody. Total genocide. The killing of a whole nation and everything that belongs to them. Is not this cray-cray? So look what happens. We're going to get to this. I promise you. We're going to get to how David really became king. And we're going to look at the question, was Saul actually righteous? Let's go. Verse number 4, he says, so Saul summoned the men and mustered them at Telaim, 200,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 from Judah. Saul went to the city of Saul went to the city of Amalek. Saul went to the city of Amalek and set an ambush in the ravine. Then said to the Kenites, go away, leave the Amalekites, so that I do not destroy you along with them. For you showed kindness to all the Israelites when they came out of Egypt. So the Kenites moved away from the Amalekites. Watch this. Then Saul attacked the Amalekites all the way from Havilah to Shore, near the eastern border of Egypt. But watch this. Here's verse number 8. Here's where the problem comes in. But Saul and the army spared Agag, or Agag, A-G-A-G. This is where the problem comes in. But Saul and the army spared Agag and the best of the sheep and cattle and fat calves and lambs, everything that was good. Now, keep in mind, we're going to get to this later, the reason why he spared the best of the sheep, the best of the cattle, the best of the lambs is for a sacrifice to Yahweh. Doing good. To worship. Are y'all with me? Are you with me? He saved the best. The cattle, the lambs, the fatted calves, the best of the sheep. Everything that was good. Why? You're going to see this later. So that he could worship God with them. Oh boy. So Saul spared Agag, all right? These they were unwilling to destroy completely, but everything that was despised and weak, because you were not supposed to give Yahweh any sacrifice that was weak or despised. That was lame or spotted, it had to be without blemish. So anything that Saul knew that God or Yahweh would not be pleased with, he killed. But the things he knew Yahweh would be pleased with, he did not destroy. All right. But here we go. Watch this. Are y'all ready for this? Goodness gracious. Verse number 10. Then the Lord came to Samuel. And this is what the Lord said. I wonder if this is a good time to point out this word, Lord. There's a couple words that's used here. You'll see Lord, you'll see God. Sometimes you'll see Lord God. And then, so you've got Yahweh, you've got Elohim. Okay. The word Elohim means the powerful ones. Okay. It was more than one God. I'm not making this up. That's what Elohim means. Now, the church, some of the church, not just the church, but some people will teach you the very new, and listen to what I say, the very new theology that Elohim means the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. It does not. It does not mean the Trinity. There was no such thing as a Trinity. No one knew of a Trinity. There was no thought of a Trinity. Okay, until to many years later. Okay, thousands of years later, that there was even an idea of anything called a Trinity. But Elohim meant many gods. It actually meant the powerful ones. Okay, we won't go any further into that today. I've got a whole discussion that I'm going to give on that. But so let's get to verse number 10. All right. This is the meat of it. Are you ready? It says, then the word of the Lord came to Samuel. I regret that I have made Saul king. Why? Why did God regret making Saul king? Are you ready for this? Was it because he was this wicked man? Was it because he committed this terrible sin like David did? Sleeping with Bathsheba and having her husband killed, getting her pregnant and trying to cover it up? Was it for murder of an innocent man? Nope. Why did God regret making Saul king? It's right there in your Bible. I regret that I have made Saul king because he has turned away from me and has not carried out my instructions. Oh boy, this is about to get good. This is about to get real good. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So he regretted making Saul king because Saul would not commit genocide, the killing of a whole nation. That's why he regretted making Saul king, because Saul would not just simply do everything that this creature, this being said to do. And then, but then remember what I said earlier? Could it be because the go-between here, the mediator is Samuel? Saul's not hearing any of this. Samuel is the only one hearing, so-called hearing from God. Because the next part of that verse is very interesting. It says Samuel was angry. Why is Samuel angry? Anyway, let's keep going. It says Samuel was angry and he cried out unto the Lord. We'll talk about that. This being all that night. Because let me let the cat out of the bag real quick. I do not believe that the beings in this Hebrew text, such as Yahweh, the Elohim, the powerful ones, Yehovah, that's how it's actually pronounced, Yehovah. Some of you say Jehovah. I don't believe that any of those are the source of all existence. Okay? That from which all things exist and come from. I don't believe that. I don't believe it is even the Father that Yeshua, who you call Jesus, okay, the master teacher, it's not even the same God. It's definitely not the same God that he talks about. Matter of fact, Yeshua, Jesus, never even uses the term God, ever referring to his Father. He always says the Father. And even for us in Matthew chapter 6, he says our Father. He says he's your Father. He never refers to Yahweh. He never talks about Yahweh, Elohim, or Yehovah. Okay? He never talks about any of these. So this being, whatever this being is, or you're going to learn later, we're not going to talk about it today, these beings, because there were multiple, whoever these beings were not the Father of Yeshua Jesus. That's as far as I'm going into that today. We'll go down that rabbit hole another day. All right. But Samuel was angry and cried out to the Lord all night. Verse number 12, it says, early in the morning, Samuel got up and went to meet Saul. But he was told Saul has gone to Carmel. There he has set up a monument in his own honor and has turned and gone to Gilgal. Verse 13, we're bringing it in. We're coming a little closer. Verse 13, when Samuel reached him, Saul said, "The Lord bless you. I've carried out the Lord's instructions." So when Samuel finally comes in contact with Saul, Saul is like, "Praise the Lord, brother." "Praise the Lord, my brother. I did what you told me the Lord said to do. I've blessed God. I have done the will of God. I know God's going to be pleased with me." Verse 14, it says, "But Samuel said," if you carried out the will of God, Samuel says, "Well, what is this bleating of sheep in my ear? And what is this lowing of cattle that I hear?" So in other words, here we go. So Samuel says, "Well, Saul, if you carried out the will of God, why do I hear the sound of life?" This sounds like no God that I want to be connected to, that gets angry and get upset because he hears life. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So he says, "Well, why do I hear the sounds of life?" All right. We're going to be skipping around a little bit. Saul answered, "The soldiers brought them from the Amalekites. They spared the best of the sheep and the cattle to sacrifice to the Lord your God." Oh, did you see that? He didn't say my God. He says, "But to the Lord your God. They spared the best sheep and cattle to sacrifice to the Lord your God," this being that you've been in contact with. Okay? "But we totally destroyed the rest." And then Samuel says, "Enough." Verse number 16. Samuel said, "Let me tell you what the Lord said to me last night." And once again, here we got this man claiming that the Lord said something, and there's no way to prove it. Okay? But remember, he's got rank. He can flex a little bit because remember, as in verse number 1, he set himself up and said, "Look here, Saul, now I'm the one that made you. Okay? The Lord sent me. My Lord sent me to make you king." So here we go. So once again, he says, "Well, this is what the Lord said to me last night." Saul, says, "Tell me." And Saul is just as innocent. And do you see the pure heartedness of Saul? I mean, are you guys trekking with me? Are you following me? Do you see how Saul's heart is so pure? Saul feels like he's doing the right thing. He spared the life of a king. Saul also put aside the best sheep and the best cattle to sacrifice as worship unto Samuel's God. So when Samuel says, "Let me tell you what the Lord said to me last night," Saul is such of a pure heart. Saul says, "Okay, tell me. I want to hear what God said." Or in this case, the Lord. Okay. This particular Elohim. Because there were many. All right. Samuel said, here's what the Lord said. "Although you were once small in your own eyes, did you not become the heads of the tribes of Israel? The Lord anointed you king over Israel, and he sent you on a mission saying, 'Go and completely destroy those wicked people, the Amalekites, wage war against them until you have wiped them out.' Why did you not obey the Lord? Why did you pounce on the plunder and do evil in the eyes of the Lord?" And then watch Saul's response. Pure-hearted Saul again. Was Saul actually righteous? Here's pure-hearted Saul again. Saul says, "But I did obey the Lord." Saul said, verse 20, he says, "I went on the mission the Lord assigned me. I completely destroyed the Amalekites and brought back Agag, their king. The soldiers took the sheep and cattle from the plunder, the best of what was devoted to God, in order to sacrifice them to the Lord your God at Gilgal." Isn't this something? But Samuel replied, "Does the Lord delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as much as obeying the Lord?" That's where you get it's better to obey than to sacrifice. Next verse. Oh, that's the next part. He says, to obey is better than the sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams. Now watch this next sentence. Is not this good, y'all? So Samuel, can I be honest? Who sounds like the righteous one? And which two characters here sound like the evil ones? Doesn't it sound more like Saul is the righteous one and this Yahweh or this particular Elohim, one of the Elohim, Yahweh and Samuel, don't they actually seem like the evil ones here? Let's keep going. Oh, we're slipping down the rabbit hole now. So he says, verse 23, watch this. So Samuel says to Saul, he says, so look, Saul, you got to understand, Samuel says, for rebellion is like the sin of divination, and arrogance, you thinking you know more than me, arrogance is like the sin or the evil of idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you as king. Here it is. Why? How did David really become king? Why did Saul get rejected? It tells you right here in verse 23. Not because he committed some great sin, not because he murdered somebody, not because he did what David did, slept with a woman who was a man's wife and had the man killed and got her pregnant and tried to cover it up. Not because of any of that. No, he says, you did not do what I said. That's why you're rejected. You're rejected because you decided to think for yourself and not just obey without question. Even though you never heard from the Lord, saw the Lord, but I just come back and tell you what the Lord said because you didn't do what I told you to do. That's why you've been rejected. But watch this. Watch this. He says, for rebellion is like the sin of divination, or the sin, are y'all with me? Or the sin of divining, divination, divining. What is divining? Divining means, divination or divining simply means getting in touch with the divine. Oh boy, oh boy. So he says, not doing exactly what I say as I say it is rebellion. And rebellion is like the sin of divining. Watch this, y'all. The sin, he compares, this is good to me. He compares what Saul does to the sin of divining, or the sin of getting in touch with the divine for yourself. Which in this Hebraic writing became known as witchcraft. But the word is divination, divining. So in other words, he says, you've committed the sin of getting in touch with the divine on your own without somebody else's help. You've committed the sin of divination. You've committed the sin. Are y'all hearing me tonight? You've committed the sin of getting in touch with the divine for yourself. Woo! Woo! So what was the sin? The sin of Saul was thinking for yourself. You don't do that. You don't think for yourself. You don't get in touch with the divine by yourself. So you not listening to me, what I told you that God said is like divining. It's like getting in touch with the divine for yourself. Oh, man. Oh, ain't this good? Could it be? He goes on to say, so then Saul gets convicted, And Saul says to Samuel, not to God, Saul says to Samuel, I have sinned. I missed the mark. I violated the Lord's command and your instructions. I was afraid of the men, so I gave in to them. Now I beg you, forgive my sin. I missed it. And come back with me so that I may worship the Lord, offer these sacrifices. But Samuel said to him, I will not go back with you. You have rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord has rejected you as king over Israel. Why? Because you decided to get in touch with the divine for yourself. Man, oh 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 man. Could it be, let's just think outside of the box. Let's do some divining tonight. Thinking for ourselves. Could it be, because remember, this is all from the perspective of Samuel. So could it be that Samuel, the prophet that heard the instructions from God in private that nobody else was able to hear, could it be that Samuel was actually the one that had a problem with Agag? Could it be? So I'm going to skip a lot of this because in verse number 32, I think it's interesting. Could Samuel be the one that actually had the problem? Just like Moses had a problem with the Israelites because while he was away for 40 days and 40 nights making up his story, hearing from God, while Moses was away, hearing from Yahweh, hearing from the Elohim, that the Israelites decided to do some divining along with the Levites, and they decided to do their own thing and think for themselves. And Moses came down and saw that he had lost control of them. And Moses got pissed off and broke the tablet that supposedly had the only thing that God ever wrote with his own hand. That's dumb as hell to break that. Okay? The only thing that's ever been claimed to have been written by God himself. Moses gets pissed off because he comes down from the mountain and he lost control of the people, and now they're divining. Now they're thinking for themselves and not depending on Moses. So Moses gets pissed off, throws down the only thing God ever wrote, supposedly, demolishes it, and then orders all of them to be killed, and also says God said it, and poisons them. Grinds their little golden image up and grinds it into powder, puts it in the water, and commands that they drink it. That sounds like a damn cult to me. Demands that they drink it. And then for those that were alive, he says, whoever y'all are on my side, where y'all get the song, get up if you're on the Lord's side. He said, Moses says, whoever's on the Lord's side, he says, I want y'all to come over here and stand with me. Get up if you're on the Lord's side. So y'all stop singing that song. It's the song of a cult leader. So he says, whoever's on the Lord's side, come and stand with me. They came and stood with him. And he said, now, all of y'all that's standing with me, go and kill the rest of them. Kill all of them. And guess what he says? Women and children, mother and father, kill them. And he puts the Lord's name in it. And they do it. And then, this is in the Bible. Go read it. Go read it in the book of Exodus. Go read it. And then Moses says, he says, because you obeyed God by killing your own family, he says, you will be rewarded. Ah, this shit is crazy. This shit is crazy. Do you hear me? So just like Moses had a problem with the people because he couldn't control them, could it be that Samuel was actually the one that had the problem with Agag? I don't know. I'm just using some calculations here. Could it be that Samuel, not supposedly God, could it be that Samuel was the one? And I understand Nikita. Nikita says, my God, you're about to make me cry. And it should. When we read these stories, it should make us cry. But our dumb asses, pardon me, I'm not calling anybody dumb that still believes this is literal. So I apologize for that. But I'll talk about me. My dumb ass didn't used to cry about these stories, but used to shout about them and give God praise. Woo! He'll kill your enemies. Hallelujah. Dumb as hell. Me. Ain't talking about nobody else. But it ought to make you cry. But could it be that Samuel, let's look at the Bible, could it be that Samuel was actually the one that had the problem with Agag? Because if you look in verse number 32, he says to Saul, he says, look here, Saul. He allows Saul to go worship. He allows Saul to take those animals that Saul brought for the Lord and sacrifice them unto this being, all right? This blood sacrifice. Anyway. So, but then Samuel says to Saul, he says, bring me Agag, king of the Amalekites. Just bring him to me. Just bring him to me. Watch. Agag came to Samuel came to Samuel in chains, and he thought, surely the bitterness of death is past. So when Agag comes to Samuel, Agag is kind of refreshed. Whew, I don't think I'm going to die. But Samuel says to Agag, as your sword has made women childless, so will your mother be childless among women. Your mama's child about to die. I'm about to kill you, Samuel says. And Samuel put Agag to death before the Lord at Gilgal, before the Lord, as a human sacrifice unto God. Woo-hoo. Yeah, that's what it says. So Samuel says, bring Agag to me. And then Samuel takes Agag and kills him. So maybe it was Samuel that had the problem with Agag all along, and not the supposed being. But anyway, let's go. So then Samuel left for Ramah. Saul went home in Gibeah, I think it is, until the day Samuel died, blah, 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 blah. Samuel, so it says that Samuel was so mad at Saul, it says he never went to see Saul again until the day he died. He never, ever went to see. Samuel had an attitude with Saul. And if this was God, if this was the Most High doing this, why Samuel got an attitude? Sounds just like the saints, don't it? He had such an attitude. He refused to ever, until his dying day, he refused to ever look at Samuel's face again. At Saul's face again. Well, Samuel, if you just the messenger, if you the prophet, you just the y'all know how y'all say, oh, I'm just the messenger. I'm just delivering the mail. Well, if you're just delivering the mail, why you got a problem with Saul? Why you so pissed and turned off at Saul, you refuse to ever look at him again until your dying day? Sounds like Samuel was the one that had the problem. But then it says he wouldn't go see him, although, verse 35, it says, although Samuel mourned for him. Okay? All right, he did mourn for him, it says. Yeah, so Samuel had a heart, okay? And the Lord regretted that he had made Saul king over Israel. The Lord Yahweh, the Elohim, okay, one of the Elohim, one of the lords, one of the beings. All right. So Saul is rejected as king. All right. So until the day Samuel died, he did not go again to see him. Why? Why did Samuel not ever again go to see Saul? Why was he so pissed off? Because Saul spared a human life. Make this make sense. So the reason why Samuel was so pissed off and upset with Saul and never wanted to see him again, and supposedly this being that is referred to as Yahweh is also upset with Saul, is because, why? Because Saul spared a human life. Okay, just think about that one moment. Because Saul spared a human life. Here's what you got to understand. Yahweh, whether it's Samuel or Yahweh, maybe there is this being called Yahweh. So whether it's Samuel speaking and just, using this name of this being just to be able to get his own will done, or maybe there really was this being Yahweh. Okay, whatever the case. If that's the case, the other reason why Yahweh did not like Samuel and why he took his spirit from Samuel, we'll talk about that. I can't do that today. But another reason why Samuel was rejected as king is because Yahweh, watch this, guys. Are you with me? Yahweh wanted someone that would follow his orders, even if it meant genocide. Yahweh wanted someone that would follow his orders, even if it meant the murder of a whole nation. Just like Moses. Remember, Moses rewarded the people because he said, because you obeyed God, even though it meant killing your own family, you're going to be rewarded. That's what Yahweh was looking for. Yahweh was looking for somebody that would not question him no matter what. So this is why Saul was rejected. He wasn't rejected because he did stuff like David did, murder, not because he raped someone, not because Saul wasn't rejected as king, because he, as I stated with David, slept with someone's wife and lied, got her pregnant and had the man killed. No, Saul was rejected because he would not obey Yahweh without question. Because he was rejected because Yahweh wanted somebody in place as the king, as the leader. He wanted a leader that would obey his orders, even if it meant genocide or the murder of a whole nation. He wanted someone in charge who would do his bidding. Now, wait a minute. Now, if this Yahweh and these Elohim, if these beings were source, which that's why I say, it's one of the reasons why I say it's not the source of all things of existence, the source of the cosmos. It's not. It's something else. There's something else at work here. There's some other kind of being at work here, if these are true stories. If these are stories describing actual events. There's something else at work here. Because if you're God Almighty, if you're the Almighty, why do you need someone else to do your bidding? Why can't you just do it yourself? Hello? I mean, snap your fingers. You want somebody gone? Snap. Matter of fact, hell, if you want somebody not to exist, don't create them. Because you're omniscient. Y'all not with me tonight. I hope I'm not making anybody mad. You're omniscient. You're all-knowing. You already know what they're going to do anyway, so why the hell are you going to create them? Just don't create them, and then you don't have to worry about all this stress. Oh, we're going to think tonight. We're going to do some divining. Oh, yes. But Saul is rejected as king because this Yahweh wanted someone in charge who would do his bidding and Saul would not. Saul had a heart. Saul spared a life. So here's why Saul was rejected as king and why David became king. How did David really become king? David became king. Saul was rejected as king because he spared a human life, because Yahweh wanted somebody in place that would follow his orders, even if it meant murder of a whole nation, because he wanted somebody to do his bidding, and Saul would not. Saul was rejected because Saul decided to think for himself. That's why Saul was rejected. That's why some of y'all are rejected. Because you finally decided to think for yourself. You decided to use your brain, and the common religious person doesn't like you to do that. Brains are not necessary. You just gotta have faith. Yeah. Oh yeah. You just gotta have faith. You just gotta believe that these writings that were dug up in the dirt somewhere. You just gotta believe. It doesn't matter. We found them. And just because they were found, just because they were dug up, you must believe that they are from your Creator. And their basic instructions before leaving the earth. Don't think, just believe. All right. Could it even be, y'all, let me see. As we talk about this Yahweh, and then we're going to go into David. I got to finish this. I don't know. I might have to stop and come back. But let's talk about this Yahweh. Can we talk about, and this is going to really piss somebody off, because I already told y'all that from my perspective, this Yahweh creature, this Yahweh being, and these Elohim, these other gods, these other powerful ones, because the word Elohim means the powerful ones, these visitors that would come to the earth. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole today. But I already told y'all, from my perspective and from what I see from the stories and the writings about Yeshua, who we call Jesus, it ain't that Elohim. It ain't that Yahweh. That's a totally different being. Or those are totally different beings. So what I'm going to say next. No. Please keep those comments coming, Nikita. Please, every time you think of something, type it and let's interact. Please do. I'm going to go back and read them later. I keep taking my glasses off so I can't see them. But keep them coming. That keeps the algorithm going. So that's great. When it goes on YouTube, go on YouTube and do the same thing. So this next statement, somebody's not going to like. We're going to come back to David. But since we're talking about Yahweh, can we talk about the evil of Yahweh? This Yahweh. Oh, now watch what I'm getting ready to say. Watch what I'm getting ready to say. This Yahweh, according to the writings, was evil. I'm about to prove it to you right now. I'm getting ready to show you in your very own Bible that Yahweh was evil. Watch it. Let's talk about the evil of Yahweh. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse number 14. Now the Spirit of the Lord of Yahweh, or sometimes interchangeably of the Elohim. Okay. Now the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul. And we already know why. Whatever this being, watch this, oh gosh. So this being, this Yahweh being, had given something to Saul. He had given him something that came from himself. The spirit, his ruach, or a wind. So something forceful came on him or came into him. Maybe possession, I don't know. But because, or the special power, okay? But because he was not willing to remain Yahweh's puppet. Is anybody getting this tonight? Because he was not willing to remain Yahweh's puppet, in verse number 14 of 1 Samuel 16, he says, now the Spirit of the Lord had departed from Saul. He took it back. But watch this, because I just told you we're getting ready to prove that Yahweh was evil. Now the Spirit of the Lord had departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord tormented him. An evil spirit from the Lord. An evil spirit that came from, out of, from, attached to, as a part of, that came from the Lord. An evil spirit that came from the Lord tormented Saul. Now understand, we've got this spirit of this special power, Spirit of the Lord, that was on him, took it back. And now we have something else, an evil spirit, the evil part of him, of God, of Yahweh, an evil spirit from the Lord came upon him. Both came from God according to your own Bible. An evil spirit from the Lord. To me, this proves that this being was evil. According to this narrative, this evil spirit was a part of Yahweh. For it says it came from Yahweh. Now, I told you earlier, it says, I told you earlier that there were many words used in the Bible for God. But here we see the Lord. Here we see the word Elohim, or the powerful ones. So the powerful ones sent something evil out from themselves, a spirit out from themselves. They sent evil out from themselves onto Saul. Now, I thought about something. There's no way I can finish this. What time is it? I gotta try to bring this to a close. Oh my goodness. It's 1:24 a.m. here. I gotta bring this to a close. I know this is good, y'all, but I gotta bring it to a close. Some kind of way. There's no way to do it, but I'm gonna try. Now, I remember, so we know that in 1 Samuel chapter 16, the Spirit of the Lord comes upon David. So, a part of Yahweh, a part of the Elohim, a part of the Elohim, the spirit of Elohim, of the Elohim, or Yahweh comes from Yahweh and comes upon David. I hope y'all are following me. And then, so this spirit has now possessed or come upon, or the special power or whatever it is has come upon David. So what the Elohim or Yahweh was now on David. So could it even be that the reason why we see in the narrative Saul would have these seemingly bipolar moments? Watch, follow me now. Where it seemed like he would like David one minute and then the next minute he would not like David and he would want to kill David. Could it be, just think with me here, could it be that the reason why Saul wanted to kill David was because of Yahweh? Could it be the reason why Saul always wanted to kill David? Because that spirit of Yahweh was on David and Saul didn't like Yahweh? All right. Because you see it again in chapter 16, the spirit of Yahweh came upon David. Verse 13 of chapter 16. So Samuel took a horn of oil and anointed him in the presence of his brothers. And from that day on, the spirit of the Elohim, the spirit of the Lord, came powerfully upon David. So could it be that Saul wanted to kill David because what this God or what this Elohim was came powerfully upon David? Because something happened to David. Something changed David. Because remember it says from that day on. Oh my goodness gracious. I don't even want to do this right now. But there's another place where it talks about the Spirit of the Lord coming powerfully upon it. There's a couple of places. All right. But I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. But one of the places where we see this happening is in the New Testament. I don't want to talk about this. And it's a woman, a virgin by the name of Mary. And it says that the Spirit of the Lord overshadowed her. This is a rabbit hole I'm not willing to go down. So, I'm just not willing to go down that road. But we can use the wording because as it says, with Mary, the Spirit of the Lord overshadowed or came powerfully upon Mary. We know what that means because she got pregnant. So literally the Spirit of the Lord went inside of her. When it said it overshadowed her, that means the Spirit of the Lord came upon her almost. No, I'm not going to say that. Not today. But the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon her or overshadowed her. It's like it injected itself into her and impregnated her. So could it be what happened to David? The same thing. Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him from that day on. Could it be that it possessed him and came into him? Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Nikita, but I was trying not to say it. Thank you. I was trying my best not to say that. I will on another day, though, because we're going to talk about that thing. Watch this. Let's see. Is there a way to end this? I think it is. So I'm going to go back to 1 Samuel 16, first few verses, when David gets anointed. Are you ready? 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 7. It says, when they arrived, Samuel saw Eliab and thought, surely the Lord's anointed stands before the Lord. But the Lord said to Samuel, according to Samuel. The Lord said to Samuel, that's important. The Lord said to Samuel, do not, watch this, do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. Watch this. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance. So the powerful ones, the Elohim, does not look at, does not look at what people look at. People look at the outward appearance, Samuel says, but the Lord looks at the heart. So the Elohim does not look at what man looks at, because man looks at the outward appearance, but the Elohim look inside at the heart. So then in verse 12, when David is chosen, look how David is described. Now remember what was just said. The Lord, the Elohim, does not look at the outward appearance, but looks at the heart. Well, look what it says about him being chosen. So he sent for him and had brought him in. Watch what it says. And he was glowing with health and had a fine appearance and handsome features. Then the Lord said, arise and anoint him. This is the one. Wait a minute. He doesn't look at the outward appearance, but then the reason he's chosen is because he looks healthy and he's handsome. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Pee on my head and tell me it's raining. Okay. Just pee on my head. Tell me it's raining. I smell urine, damn it. Okay. You ain't gonna pee on my head and tell me it's raining. So what does he look at? He looks at his appearance. But just for the sake of what we want to talk about, we're gonna just close our eyes and pretend like we didn't even see that. We're gonna pretend like that wasn't even written there. We're gonna pretend like we didn't even see that contradiction. Okay? But here's what we do want to look at, what we want to bring out. He says something else. Remember, he says, I'm looking at the heart. Man looks at the outward appearance. Y'all stay with me. You about to see this from a new perspective. And you got to go back to connecting what happened with Saul. Don't forget why Saul was rejected. We're talking about why David became king. Because we got this little boy, innocent little boy. Watch this. He says, he's the one, because although he's handsome, I'm looking at his heart. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Elohim look at the heart. So he says, I'm looking at the heart. In other words, let's talk about the heart. Let's talk about the heart. What was he looking at? In other words, I'm looking for someone who's innocent. I'm looking at the heart. Now, don't give me these other sons because they're older. They think for themselves. Do you have another son out here? I need Samuel. I'm looking for somebody that's real innocent, because God, the Elohim, is looking at the heart. He's looking at someone's heart. I need someone who's innocent, moldable, pliable. Looking at the heart, because I'm looking for somebody that'll do what I want them to do. Someone that has an innocence. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You got to remember the reason why Saul was rejected. And you got to remember the reason why we're looking for a new king. We're looking for a new king because Saul decided to think for himself and not just do whatever this being said to do without question. So this being is now looking at the heart. He needs a young, shapeable person. Someone that will do whatever he says without question. You got to put all this together, y'all. You got to put all this together. That's why that's why it's said about David that David was a man after God's own heart. He was a man after God, after the Elohim or Yahweh's own heart. He wasn't a man after his own heart. David was not a man that was after his own heart. David was a man that was after the Elohim's heart. Are you getting this tonight? That's why David was chosen. Oh my goodness. I gotta go. He was a man after the Elohim's own heart. In other words, this is a man that'll do whatever I say do. That's why it didn't. Have you ever wondered why it made no damn sense why it would ever be said of all the people in the world that David was the only one of whom it was said was after God's own heart? It should have been Job. Job should have been the one after God's own heart, because it said Job was a perfect and upright man that eschewed evil. But it wasn't Job that was after God's own heart. It was David. And David was the worst. He was a manipulator. He was a liar. He was a murderer. He was an adulterer. But he's the one of which it was said is a man after God's own heart. Why? We're connecting the dots right here. Because God was looking for somebody that had a shapeable heart, that'll do whatever he says, because that's why we need a new king anyway. That's why Saul was rejected, because Saul would not do whatever the Elohim said without question. Man. You got to put all this together. This Elohim wanted somebody to do his bidding. All right, 10 minutes and I'm closing this. I'm going to finish everything I got in 10 minutes. So he wanted someone to do his bidding. So this being God, this being or beings, Elohim, sends something to come upon David. He sends his spirit. He sends these, maybe even these superpowers. This being rewards David. Hey, I'm going to give you these special powers. All you got to do is do whatever I tell you to do. Watch. Because the man was so powerful. Watch this. He beat bears. He killed bears. He killed lions. How the hell can a little boy, a teenager, kill lions and bears by himself? Take a sheep out of the mouth of a lion. Come on now. Because he was given these special abilities. Are you hearing me? I received that, Nikita. I received that. I want to do it because I want to get the truth out there. And it does not have to shake our faith. I'll talk about that another day. Because I still have trust and belief in the source of the cosmos, in the source of all things. I just don't believe that who Samuel is writing about is that source. All right. So he's got these superpowers, just like Samson, of whom it said the same thing. But Samson, these powers would only come upon him at certain times. And it would come upon Samson, he would do crazy stuff. Take the jawbone of an ass and just kill thousands of people. You hear what I'm saying? Impossible. But it's not possible if you got some kind of superhuman strength that was granted to you by some being. I can't go there today. That's a rabbit hole, and I got probably 5 more of my 10 minutes. That's how David was able to kill Goliath. Nobody else was able to. But this little boy was. With a damn stick in one hand and a damn rock. Come on now, you're going to kill a giant with a damn rock? If you got superpowers and if you got assistance from some kind of beings. One thing I like that it says, when he was getting ready to kill Goliath, he says because Saul gets scared for David, and he says, listen, when I was keeping my father's sheep and a lion and a bear came to carry off the flock, I went after it, I struck it and rescued the sheep from its mouth. And when it turned on me, I seized it by the hair, struck it and killed it. You think that wasn't superhuman strength? He said, but watch this. He said, your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them. But watch this. Very important element, because he has defied the armies of the living Elohim. He said, the Elohim, the Lord who rescued me. So I had assistance from these beings. Because he said, the Lord, the Elohim, who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear, the Elohim will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine also. Wow. I think I've given you enough, but I want to point out in my closing a couple of interesting things. I want to talk to you about let's look at how David even describes Yahweh. So we're going to take a look at one of David's encounters with Yahweh. This is probably the best part. This is going to be found in 2 Samuel 22 and 7 through 11. Okay? I'm not going to read all the verses, but 2 Samuel 22, 7 through 11. And then we're going to look at verse 16. And then we're going to look at, that's it. That's all we're going to do. We're going to look at that, okay? And then I'm closing. So watch this. So we know David he describes a direct encounter he has. And I'd never seen this before, Nikita. With this Elohim. With this Yahweh. And he actually describes how this Yahweh looks. Oh boy, right there in front of your eyes, hidden in plain sight. Are you ready for this? Watch how David describes this being that he's devoted to, that helps him. You're welcome, Patricia, my friend. Can't wait to come and see you guys in California. But listen to this. Don't miss this, guys. If you don't, I know it's late. Don't log off. Listen to this last part. David describes this. This is almost terrifying. Yes, Nikita, yes. This is almost terrifying. The description of Yahweh. And I want you to tell me, I'm going to wait for y'all to tell me what it sounds like this Yahweh looks like to you. David says in 2 Samuel 22, verse 7, in my distress, I called to the Lord, Yahweh. I called to the Elohim. I called out to my Elohim, my God. He calls him his God. So the God that he has gotten to know. Let's read. I'm not going to stop anymore. Let's go. Let's look at the description. In my distress, I called to the Lord. I called out to my God. From his temple, so this God is somewhere in a temple. From his temple, he heard my voice. My cry came to his ears. Watch this. The earth trembled and quaked. The foundations of the heavens shook. They trembled because Yahweh, he was angry. Watch this. Smoke rose from his nostrils. Consuming fire came from his mouth. Smoke from his nostrils. Fire from his mouth. Burning coals blazed out of it. He came from the sky. It says he parted the heavens and came down. This being came out of the sky. It was flying. Smoke from its nostrils. Fire out of his mouth. Came out of the heavens and came down. Dark clouds. Smoke. Dark clouds were under his feet. And he mounted the cherub. Cherub describes these beings with wings and flew. He soared on the wings of the wind. Are y'all following me? Because this is it. I'm done. Verse number 16, 2 Samuel 22. David is describing his God, this Elohim, this visitor that came out of the sky flying, whose smoke was coming out of this God's nostrils, fire out of this God's mouth, flying through the sky with dark clouds under his feet, or smoke under his feet, dark smoke from the fire. Watch this, verse number 16. The valleys of the sea were exposed, and the foundations of the earth laid bare at the rebuke of the Lord, the rebuke of the Elohim. And watch this, at the blast of breath from his nostrils. What does this creature that David describes as his God, his Elohim, or his Yahweh sound like? Think about it. It's flying. Smoke comes out of its nostrils. Somebody tell me what you see. Wings, flying, smoke out of its nostrils, fire out of its mouth, coming out of the sky. Somebody tell me, what does it sound like to you? Can anybody type it in the comments there? What does it sound like he's seeing? Kimoria, you got it. Sounds like a dragon. You got it. It's right there, y'all. It's right there. So whatever David is calling his God, we're not going to go down this rabbit hole today. I just want to point it out. Whatever David calls his God, he says, my God. It is in the form of what we might call a dragon. Could it even be that old dragon that's talked about in the book of Revelation, that old dragon, could it be that even that old dragon that's talked about in the book of Revelation, could it be that it be Yahweh? Could it be that God that wanted Saul to kill, to commit genocide and murder a whole nation, and got mad at Saul when he did not do it, and replaced Saul with David, somebody that would do whatever he wanted him to do because he was a man after this Yahweh's own heart? What a night. Save it all for another day. What a night. So let's look at it. How did David get in office? I know, going down a wormhole for sure. But I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna go all the way, but not tonight. How did David get in office? How did he really become king? David got in office like this. You gotta realize that Samuel, whom David replaced, was Israel's first ruler. Before Samuel, Israel didn't have a ruler. Israel was ruled, their only king, their only ruler was Yahweh and the Elohim, the powerful ones. But the people complained. They were tired of being ruled by the powerful ones and said, we want to have our own government. We can do this. And the Elohim says, okay. And gave them Saul. But expected Saul to do whatever the Elohim said. But he didn't. So understand that prior to this, only the Elohim or Yahweh was their ruler. All right. Enough is enough. Did you get it? I think you got it. Thank you for watching. My time is up. Thank you for yours. If you are watching on Facebook, share. It's probably going to get me in trouble as you share it. It's probably going to get me in a buttload of trouble. But you know what? I don't care. Because I've escaped out of Eden and I'm able to think for myself and still have so much love and adoration for that which many call God. But it ain't Yahweh. No, baby. It ain't the Elohim. But I have love and appreciation for the source of all existence. So it's okay. Thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't just watch it. You gotta hit the like button so that more people, so it'll trigger it'll trigger YouTube to show this video to more people. Thank you so much. If you're watching by Facebook, do the same thing. Like, comment, engage. And just in case, because I know this is probably going to be shared a lot of places, just in case somebody wants to come on and, be like their idea of God and come on here and be condemning and be judgmental. You got that right. You definitely have that right to do that because you will definitely behave like your idea of God. I expect you to be like your God. That's okay. That's okay. So for those that decide to come with judgment and condemnation, I'm just going to say thank you for being here. I appreciate you because the fact that you're here means you're listening. All right, guys, have a good night. Love you. All right. Bye-bye now.